alleles from one generation to another. Okay, so here we run through the steps again. Later on, your task for today is to go to the second tab, practice drawing a genetic diagram. I'd like everyone to follow the steps, and then you will draw a genetic diagram to solve this puzzle. A heterozygote mates with a homozygote for the crest allele. I will do a quick recap of what you need to do today, because yesterday was a bit rushed. Number one, you need to define your alleles. That's the very first thing you need to do, define your alleles. When you define your alleles, yesterday we said, choose good alphabets and use only one alphabet. Second, you see many headers on the left hand side. I suggest, or experience, that the best way to do this, right, is rather than write line by line, you write down all the headers on the left hand side as a reminder, then you start to fill in the blanks on the right hand side. So, start off first with the headers, parental generation. Okay, write in full, underline. Then after that, it starts off with the parental phenotype, parental genotype, so on and so forth. After that, you should get your gametes. Then you lead into the F1 generation. Then you start off with the F1 genotype, F1 phenotype. And one thing we didn't cover yesterday was the phenotypic ratio. What do I mean by phenotypic ratio? For example, yesterday's example, in the second generation, you got something along the lines of 3:1 ratio. Right? You had something along the lines of, I think, YY, you have to write under the genotypes, YY, big Y, small y, big Y, small y, and small y, small y. And then the answer was something along the lines of yellow peas, yellow, yellow, and green. The last line is for you to write down the ratio. So for example, yellow is to green is 3:1. Okay, that's what the last line is for. This last line is usually where you need to use to solve a puzzle. For example, yesterday's question went something along the lines of, they say complete so that you can find out the probability of getting offspring with long crescent phenotype. Therefore, this last line is important so that you can prove to the marker what the probability is. Okay? So in this case, 3:1, then you use it to justify your argument. Okay, so let's try this particular exercise now. Everyone, you will try for the first time drawing your own genetic diagram. Draw on your iPad, then after you can screenshot, then you digitally upload. After that, we'll run through some of your examples in class, pinpoint the good points, as well as areas to improve on. Okay, please try now. Drawing your own genetic diagram. You can view each other's genetic diagram once done. Oh, some of you did the first exercise yesterday. Yeah, I want you to focus on practice drawing a genetic diagram, the second tab today. Sorry, what? You can follow the steps or you can just pick up your own steps. I'll give you 10 minutes to get this done, maximally 25. Yeah. Oh, what was the question? They said homozygous for the crest allele. So yesterday when you played the game, was crest or no crest the dominant? No crest was dominant. So therefore crest is the recessive. Okay? This is based on the pigeon game. In case you forgot, no crest was the dominant one. Crest was the recessive. Okay, let's solve the puzzle. the dominant, right?
Yeah.
So that means both parents would have no crest phenotype, right? Yeah, correct. They've already written the genotype for you. The genotype refers to what's the combination of it. Is it homozygous recessive, homozygous dominant, is it heterozygous? And they already said that, yeah, you are making heterozygous. Then the next step is to draw two lines to show how alleles will split in your genes. Correct. So this line over here corresponds to the F1 genotype. Then after that F1 phenotype, you should write down what trait is. So what would homozygous dominant be? No crest. So this will be no crest, no crest, no crest. Then the ratio will be, yeah, correct, the ratio is no crest to crest, 3 to 1. Yes, that's right. But yesterday when you played the game for the pigeon, yeah, this is a follow-up from the pigeon game. Was crest allele the dominant or recessive one? It was recessive. It was a no crest that was dominant. So it's a follow-up from that. If you are homozygous for the crest, essentially I'm saying you are homozygous for the recessive allele.
So it means you're recessive.
Yeah. And but I hope you understand it was a follow-up from yesterday's game. Yesterday's game, no crest was the dominant one. Tanisha? Oh, you're trying to figure out whether it's recessive or dominant. If you're done, you can continue playing reading pigeons if you wish. Or the practice makes progress. There are 2 MCQs, require you to solve puzzles. I think it's quite challenging. So I can give it a go. Have a look at your diagram. Just in practice, because as you do more diagrams, you may encounter other way. So no press is no press. I see a diagram. Kala, you done with it? The end dominant. Even my brain has probably problem registering that no press is the dominant. Because you think, right, press is something there, right? It looks good. It's yours. Okay, very good. Sarah, where's yours? Okay, your gametes, don't forget to circle them. Okay, then you can simplify the ratio from 2 is to 2 is to 1 is to 1. Yeah, just going around to check your drawing up. Side, usually this side is like 5 marks. Just give away, throw in your face. So you think happy. Yeah, you think a lot. Like every line is 1 mark. So I need to check you all to do this right. Yes. This question says what happens about this question. Okay. Yeah. What you are. Oh, yeah. What is what? Usually we want to find what each one is. So you put above it, press, is press, next mirror. previous example. What I ever already see this guy. Yeah, that's doing so. I thought I saw yours before. Have a cross over here also. Okay, then the circle is not for the individual. The circle is for the thing. So you can move the circle forward. Yeah. Because you're not making them. Okay, all's good. So let's do a quick recap. I'm going to just flash one of them on the screen. You look at E-phase on Okay, this is a. I think I spot one header missing. You spot the header? Okay, gametes. Okay, so that's one. But other than that, this is very, very neat. You can tell where everything goes. As I walk around, these are some of the things you miss out. For example, some students miss out the cross. Yeah, that one shows fertilization. Some students miss out this branching out line from the genotype. That shows that it's undergoing meiosis. Some students skip this step altogether, and then they immediately start doing this crisscross thing from here. It will look very messy, and your genetic diagram will look very short and compressed. Overall, this is a very good example. For Ife, also she put the 1:1. What exactly is the 1:1 is no crest to crest. Okay, good choice of alphabets, and small n, I think this is a good example. Okay, just one header that is missing. Next one. Valentina's one. Okay, unfortunately, define in prose. They define in a nice sentence. Okay, not a legend. Also, when you define an allele, you want to write down what the symbol is. So over here, I know no crest is dominant and crest is recessive, but I don't know which symbol is which. Okay, we go down the headers. All the headers are in place. The crosses are here. The branching out meiosis lines are here. These are very neatly drawn. During exam, use a ruler if possible. Over here, 2:2. Good, I notice you all just automatically simplify it to 1:1. That is okay. What would be great is if you can put a small header on top to tell me what the ratio corresponds to. Sometimes it's obvious because over here, just nice, your no crest and no crest is right above here. Your crest and crest is right above here. And then look, it's quite obvious. But it's not always the case. Sometimes when you draw genetic diagrams, your phenotypes may be all over the place and you cannot get a nice ratio immediately. I think some of you encountered that when you drew your genetic diagrams. Yeah? So always put a header so we know what it says. Last but not least, you see here expected F1 phenotypic ratio. I'd just like to say why we write down the word expected. This is what we expect, but this may not be what we observe. Because in reality, what is expected will only happen if you have very, very large populations. Because probability speaking, actually there's always a chance that you will get no crest many times in a row. What do I mean again? Anyway, if you want to double check if your answer is correct, what can you do? What's a quick way to double check that you did all your crossing correctly? Draw the table. Okay? This table, known among biologists as the Punnett square. I always use this table just to double check that my crisscross is correct. Because this one cannot go wrong one. So for example, over here you have heterozygote made with the homozygote recessive. So you should get this at the end of the day. Then you just double check. Okay, this is a part, right, that students find a little bit hard to grapple. Some students think that if you see this, 1:1 ratio, right? Some students think that if a plant were to produce 4 seeds, confirm plus chalk, 2 of them will be yellow, 2 will be green. I say again, some students think that, let's say if this plant were to produce just 4 seeds, okay, and I ask them, what do you think the colors of these seeds are? Their reply to me would be, there will be 2 yellow and 2 green. You know there's a problem with that. Because these are expected ratios that you can only observe if you have a very large population. Because probability speaking, you may not get this ratio if you're just doing 4 individuals. Yeah? So you only observe the ratios much more clearly if you have a large population. The population needs to be very large. And that's why when I was playing with the Mendel's flowers, I tried to show you many flowers at one go. In the past, I used to teach with, I would just take out 3 purple flowers and 1 white flower. But that's not the case. You only observe these ratios with very large populations. I say this because you will start to encounter this issue when you start working with other puzzles. Okay, actually I went around looking at all of your diagrams and I think it's okay. Let us try, before we go off today, the practice makes progress. There are 2 MCQs here. I'd like you to try these, 3. I'd like you to try these puzzles out. Don't need to draw genetic diagrams. You can just draw planet squares to solve the puzzle. I'd like you to try them out. They are a little bit challenging. But you find them easy, then good for you, because this topic is about solving puzzles like that. Okay, not so much memory work. Okay, you can try this now. Those that are done, a little bit more genetics. Yes, or no? Okay, yeah, go ahead. I used to be very bad at this topic because I'm the kind of student who want to think. Then to the point that when genetic diagram questions come out in exam, right, just skip, just skip 5 marks later to the teacher. Don't even bother to try. Right, it's ridiculous. Actually, it's quite fun. It's very strong. But implies that it must be parents have it, right? Actually, now you know. That means one parent is big A small a, the other parent is big A small a. You can do a balance way, you can find out the children, right? What kind of children have it. Right, okay. So, here we go. So, according to the logic, let's say you think that, right? So you can always work on both scenarios. I made a claim that blue is recessive, but let's say now blue is dominant. But if blue were dominant, then both parents would have come out blue. Right? But if they didn't, they come out down. Right? So this is how I solve the problem. Yes. Hey, what the? Everyone's playing the genetics already. Okay. Okay, I say again, level 6 onwards is all SH genetics already. That means the first onwards. Okay, I'm going to go through the MCQs. Okay, if you understand the MCQs, then okay, go ahead and continue playing the genetics. But if you don't quite understand how you arrive at the answers and you did a random guess and you were very lucky, suggest you follow through. So we look at question 1. Humans can inherit either brown or blue eyes. 2 brown-eyed parents have 3 blue-eyed children. Which 2 statements are correct for this situation? Hey, this question like the same as the last question. Question 3. Right? Okay. So first and foremost, how do you tell if blue or brown is the dominant or recessive? Okay, that's always the first thing that comes to my mind. Which is dominant, which is recessive? So you look at just that one liner. Those 2 lines. Can you tell which is recessive, which is dominant, and why? Is blue eye the recessive value or dominant one? Or is brown the dominant or recessive? Okay, you say brown is dominant, blue is recessive. Why can't blue eye allele be the dominant one? Okay, here it says if blue eye is truly the dominant allele, then the parents would have to be blue eye also to give birth to blue eye, right? So there are only 2 possibilities now if you want to have blue eye children. Both parents need to be homozygous recessive for blue eye, then you can get blue eye children. In fact, all the children will be blue eye. Or in this case, what will be the genotype of the parents? What's the genotype of the parents? Can you tell? Both of them are heterozygous. Yeah, both of them are heterozygous. Make sense? Because let's say, okay, I'm going to use what is brown and blue. Okay, so I'm going to use B and small b. If I draw a Punnett square, then it makes some sense how someone who has brown eyes would have children that are brown eyes, as well as children with blue eyes. And again, I'd like to bring up the point that you only observe this ratio 3:1 if these two parents have thousands of babies, then you will see this probability arise. But notice these two parents have 3 children. Yeah, 3 children. All 3 times they get blue. Is this possible? It is possible. It could very well be that they just very lucky, huh? Right? Blue, first baby. Second one, blue. Third one, blue. But if this set of parents will have thousands of babies, you'll realize that over time, there will be a lot more brown-eyed babies than blue-eyed babies. Right? You're just lucky that the first 3 will. Okay? So, each parent has an allele for brown and an allele for blue-eye. Again, we learned that if we want to have an individual that is homozygous recessive, both parents need to have one of the alleles. Point number 2, the allele for blue eyes is recessive. Okay? And so 1 will be the best answer. And so the last 2 options, the probability the next child will have blue eyes is 0.75%. Actually, the probability is how many percent? Okay, how many percent of this here? 1/4, right? So 25% for blue eyes. It is 75% for brown eyes. It's just that they were just lucky. All 3 times they got 25%. The probability that the next child would have brown eyes is 0.5%. That's not true. It's supposed to be 75%. Okay? So that's question 1. Next, we go to question 2. Ooh, a lot of us got this wrong. A species of fish has the strength of its bones controlled by alleles big B and small b. Fish with the genotype big B and big B has very strong bones. Fish with genotype big B and small b have thin, weak bones. Fish with genotype small b do not grow to become an embryo. So 2 heterozygote fishes mate. What proportion of their offspring will be heterozygotes? Okay? They didn't actually say which one is recessive or dominant, but it doesn't quite matter over here. So let's work this out here first. Big B, small b. Okay, this is what you'll get. So what proportion of the offspring will be heterozygous? You have 1, 2 out of 4, but not really 2 out of 4, because the moment you get this, the baby will die. It won't make it to adulthood. So actually it's 2 out of 3, not 2 out of 4. Because what proportion of their offspring, this won't even come out of the mouth. Okay? So 2 out of 3 will be 67%, or 66.6666. Last question. This question is very similar to the first one. They ask you, in fact, it's almost exactly the same question. Ask you which statement about the family is false. Both blue-eyed children have the same genotype and phenotype. Is this a fair statement to make? Well, if you claim that blue eye is recessive, then you can only have one genotype to be able to show blue eye. And that genotype would have to be homozygous recessive, so that you can show the genotype on the surface. What about the other 2 options? The genotypes of the parents must be the same as the genotypes of their 3 brown-eyed children. Not necessary. So let's use this context now. If big B is for brown eye, and small b is for blue eye, these are all possible children. But notice, only 2 of the children will likely have the same genotype as the parents. One of them will be homozygous dominant. But on the surface, you still have brown eyes. See, the 3 brown-eyed children must be heterozygous for eye color. Okay, we look at the brown-eyed children, not necessary. Some of the children may be homozygous dominant, some may be heterozygous. Okay? Fun? Such puzzles? Fun, huh? Okay, so if you see such puzzles, don't shy away from them. Just enjoy the process. Okay? Not much memory work here, it's really solving puzzles. I've seen students, they're very cute, when you do MCQs like that, you draw the entire genetic diagram. Where the F1 and everything, and then draw the meiosis lines, everything. Don't need, when you come to MCQ, just draw this square. Okay? That's why I say that diagram is more for beginners. You want to see if you understand all the steps. But as someone solving quick puzzles, don't do that. It's a waste of time. Okay, since we have a little bit of time, I want to go into blood types. Because yesterday you asked about blood types, right? How? Because so far we've been working with alleles this way. Big A, small a, or maybe big B, small b. Okay? What about blood types? How do we write blood types given that there's A, B, and O? Interesting thing about blood types, which we are going to learn in the next section of this chapter, is that when you look at blood types, first and foremost, you can learn a few extra things. Blood types kind of defy the usual Mendelian genetics for a few reasons. Number one, there are actually more than one allele for blood type. So far, we've been working with characteristics defined by just two versions of the allele. Yeah? Yellow, green, purple, white, brown eye, blue eyes. And for blood type, there are actually three alleles. Next, interesting thing about blood types is that some alleles can introduce a new word, codominant to each other. Codominant. Codominant to each other. That means if you were to pair up two alleles together, both of them will show their characteristics. That's what codominant means. So far we've only encountered dominant and recessive. But blood types are interesting because certain alleles are codominant to each other. I'm going to show you the example now. Once you learn this, you can go and, in fact, you will have enough information to find out what your genotype of your parents are. Okay? So, blood type is interesting. When we write the alleles of blood type, we use the alphabet I. But on the top right hand corner, we will write down the blood type. So for example, IA, IO, IB. Let me stop it now. Okay. Just for blood type. Interesting thing about blood types is that IA and IB, the alleles, are codominant. What does this mean? Any of you here with blood type AB? Okay, that means to say you are heterozygote for these two alleles. If these two alleles are present in your cells, you will show both blood types together, blood type AB. The next interesting thing is, blood type A is dominant over blood type O. Blood type B is also dominant over blood type O. So what does this mean? If you have the blood type, if you have the genotype IA, IO, you will have blood type A. If you have this, then I think you can also expect to see blood type B. That means in the sequence of hierarchy, blood type O is the recessive one. If you want, who's blood type O over here? Blood type O. That means you have the genotype IO. So there are two blood types here in this class that we can confirm 100% say what your genotype is. For Serene and Keller, is it? The AB, blood type ABs. Your blood type, your genotype confirm is IAIB. Those with blood type O, confirm your blood type is the homozygous recessive. Who's blood type A here in class? Blood type B? You are the ones where we are not very sure what your genotype is. Because your genotype could be this, or the other genotype possibility. Yeah, you could be homozygous for the IA allele. For those with blood type B, you could be homozygous for the IB allele. But we don't know. Unless what? You find out what the blood types of your parents are. Then you can solve the puzzle. So those of you that have blood type A and B here, you can find out what the blood type of your parents are. You will be able to find out what your genotype is. Possible? Because if you think about it, you can, right? Let's say we solve this puzzle now. We don't know if this individual is this genotype or this genotype. But if I say that, if you know that your one parent has blood type A, the other parent has blood type O, you know what your genotype will be, yeah? If one parent is blood type A, the other is blood type. Actually, is it possible for you to get blood type A if one parent is A and B? One parent is A, one parent B. Is it possible? Is it possible for you to get the blood type A? Possible, right? But what will your genotype be? It will have to be AO, right? But this gives you a clue now. Now you know your parents' genotype. This one over here must be IB, IO. Make sense? Because you had to take one from this parent and one from this parent to be able to get this particular genotype. Yeah? So this is a preview of what we're going to learn next week, but I don't think it's too hard to grasp. Alleles for blood type, actually we have more than one. And we are learning a new term, codominance. Some alleles are codominant to each other. 2 years back when I taught this, suddenly one student's face went white. Then he was like, but Mr. Tan, he said one of my parents, the blood type is, what would be an impossible blood group? Okay. So it will be impossible, right? If one of the parents is AB, for you to have the blood type O. Correct? Yeah? If one parent is blood type A, one is AB, impossible for you to have blood type O, correct? Yeah. So there was one student 2 years back, it was like, my blood type is O, but my parents one is A, one is AB. How is that possible? Yeah, then I look at him, you look at me, then new teacher, whole class watching, like what am I going to say? What do you think I said to him? I said, I bet you are wrong. I said that confirm you got your parents' blood type wrong. Yeah, you go and call your parents now. So because he was very, very troubled, so he said, then I said, okay, so he took his phone, he went out. Then I was like, then after he came back and said, Stan, you're right. I got the blood types wrong. Then I was like, oh. Okay, so but with this knowledge, helps you solve at least blood type problems. Okay, yes. Okay, so I know for blood types, you know that you have blood type positive or negative. That one works on a different set of alleles. So there are actually two sets of alleles that define your blood type. But the one we teach you is just the ABO system. There's a plus and minus one. And we can also overlay, but that's not what we're focusing on. Okay? Okay, that's all. Thank you, class.